watching the movie and the meeting. Welcome. And now for our program, I would like to bring up the one, the only, Bob Logan, who will be introducing our keynote. Member since 2008, Lumberjack and Wildcat. And most recently, past president of our incredible Rotary Club.
Please stay seated. Not a problem. Okay, our program today is Lindsey Parsons. Lindsey Parsons is the owner of High Desert Health and a certified health coach. So the question is, what is exactly a certified health coach?
What's a health coach?
Just like coaches in industry, business coaches, mental health coaches, public sector coaches, etc., a certified health coach helps clients establish healthy habits that can last a lifetime, so they might have sustained weight loss and more energy without dieting or counting calories. Lindsey and High Desert Health provides private consultations, health screenings, a regular blog on nutritional best practices, and a podcast which has an amazing name. It's called The Perfect Stool. Something I strive to achieve every single day. So if you are concerned about any of the following: stress or emotional eating, sugar cravings, cardiovascular disease, wanting to get off some of your medications, losing weight and keeping it off, irritable bowel syndrome, diarrhea, gas, bloating, and other digestive issues, well, today is your lucky day. And you came to the perfect meeting of the Rotary Club of Tucson. So ladies and gentlemen, please help me welcome our keynote speaker, Lindsey Parsons.
Thank you so much for having me and for that great introduction. I don't think I need to say anything else now that you have shared all that. So I'll just launch into my presentation on boosting your immune system. There we go. So let me start with the basics. The CDC identified 5 key health behaviors for reducing mortality. And if you're not doing all 5 of these, this is a great place to start in terms of getting your body healthy, because when your body's healthy, your immune system is healthy. So those are not smoking, meeting the aerobic physical activity recommendation, which is either 150 minutes a week of moderate activity or 75 minutes per week of vigorous, or some combination of the both. Moderate alcohol use, which unfortunately is just 1 drink a day for women, is 2 drinks a day for men, and no binge drinking, which would mean 5 or more drinks on 1 occasion for men and 4 or more for women. And then no heavy drinking, which would be more than 15 drinks in a week for men or more than 8 in a week for women in the last 30 days. Then maintaining a normal body mass index between 18.5 and 24.9, and then sleeping at least 7 hours a day. So only 6.3% of Americans, but only 6.8% of Arizonans are doing all 5 of those things. So that's a good place to start to work on your immune system if you're concerned about it. But let me go on to some more basics. So shooting for drinking half your body weight in ounces of water a day. So say you weigh 200 pounds and you want to drink 100 ounces of water a day. Then a healthy diet. There's obviously a lot of different ideas out there about what a healthy diet is. Is it plant-based? Is it paleo, ketogenic, etc.? But there's some basics that everybody agrees on, and that is number 1, that you cut out processed food, because it's full of additives, it's full of added sugar, typically white flour and seed oils that are usually genetically modified and probably have a higher pesticide burden and are pro-inflammatory. Then that you cut carbohydrates, in particular simple carbohydrates, and added sugars. So in 2015, when they updated the nutrition recommendations, they finally gave an upper limit for sugar, which is no more than 10 grams per day. But that's the number that, between the sugar industry lobby and the nutrition lobby, which is significantly less funded, they eventually came up with that number. But the reality is you should be eating as little added sugar as possible, because our bodies have just not evolved to handle that kind of sugar bolus. And then eating more fruits and vegetables, of course. 5 to 9 servings of fruits and vegetables a day, and serving is a whole cup or 2 cups of leafy greens. So it's a lot. But it's not just important to eat more fruits and vegetables, but eat a variety, eating the entire rainbow, because all of those different colors of fruits and vegetables feed different bacteria in your gut. And the gut is the seat of 70% of your immune system. And so a healthy gut is a healthy body. So we want to think especially about those blues and the purples, because the polyphenols in this are very important. Then speaking of your gut, fiber, of course, is very important, and few of us reach the dietary guidelines recommendations of between 28 and 40 grams of fiber, depending on age and sex. But think about, for your high fiber foods, the real powerhouses are going to be your beans and your lentils and peas. You can also think about whole grains, and when I say whole grains, I don't mean flours made of whole grains, but actual whole grains like farro or millet or bulgur, quinoa, wheat berries, steel cut or slow cooking nuts. And then think about your root vegetables. All of those are so important, and that fiber is important for the health of your gut microbiome because it feeds the anaerobic bacteria, meaning the bacteria that can't survive in the presence of oxygen. And that anaerobic bacteria digests your fiber, and it produces food for your gut epithelial cells, which are the cells that line your gut. And when it does that, it keeps your gut lining solid and keeps it from prevents the escape of undigested food particles and parts of bacteria's bodies that cause inflammation and autoimmune reactions, which is known as leaky gut. And if you want to, still have treats, but really ramp up the nutrition of those treats, look at recipes that use almond flour or cassava flour, which is a root vegetable. A lot of the gluten-free recipes will use those. Or at minimum, use whole wheat flour when baking instead of white flour. And then you can look at sugar alternatives like xylitol that replaces sugar 1-for-1, or there's the monk fruit sweetener that Lakanjo makes. It's a combination of erythritol and monk fruit sweetener that is, again, a 1-to-1 replacement for sugar. And then if you do want to still eat your white rice and potatoes and pasta, you can do something special with them to create something called a resistant starch. So if you cook those things and then you cool them, some of the starch in it converts to what's called resistant starch. And resistant starch can't be digested by our bodies. It can be digested by the good bacteria in our gut, so it functions like fiber. You can then reheat them up to 130 degrees, so just a quick reheating, and still eat those foods. So that's potatoes, rice, and pasta. And then also with your pasta, if you eat it al dente, that's much better for you because, again, more of the starch is not going to be digested by you, but more by your bacteria. Then healthy fats. So the days of fat is bad for you are gone. Healthy fats are good for you. So think avocados, olives, fatty fishes, especially the sardines and the anchovies, and salmon, wild caught, better, the mercury-safe tuna. And for cooking, think about avocado oil. It's got a high burning point. You don't want your oil to burn. For spreading on your bread, think about pasture-raised, not pasteurized, but pasture-raised or grass-fed butter or ghee. And then for salad dressings, think about your extra virgin olive oil, and you can add in some flaxseed oil if you want to get extra omega-3 fatty acids, which are your anti-inflammatory fatty acids, as opposed to the omega-6, which are your pro-inflammatory. And then for your meats, you want to think about organic or pasture-raised, which is sort of the newer term beyond grass-fed, because sometimes they put grass-fed, but then they're finished on grain, or wild-raised seafood. And then think of your dairy products, your meat, your seafood, and your eggs. These are the top of the food chain. This is where all of the pesticides and all of the toxic burden is settling. So if you're going to emphasize organic or farm-raised or more expensive, think about the meat and the dairy and the eggs as the most important in that respect. But when you think about, one of the reasons you want to go for pasture-raised beef, for example, is to get a higher omega-3 content. But in reality, it takes 8 pounds of beef to have the amount of omega-3s that are in 1 3-ounce serving of salmon. So getting some of those nice fatty fishes in your diet, or if not, taking fish oil is important.
8 pounds of beef.
Okay, so more of the basics. Sunshine, and getting sunshine is good for not just vitamin D, but for a lot of other things. So trying to get 20 minutes of sun without sunscreen, except protect your face, of course. And try not to shower right afterwards, because it does actually take 48 hours to fully absorb all of the vitamin D that you'll absorb in that time. But most of us won't be able to do that without showering, because most of us like to shower on a daily basis. So then I would recommend that you probably need to check your vitamin D levels and supplement. So your doctor may say that a vitamin D level of 30 is adequate, but in fact 50 to 80 is the optimal functional range, and vitamin D plays a critical role in modulating the immune system. And inadequate vitamin D is linked to a higher susceptibility to immune-mediated disorders, including chronic infections and autoimmune diseases. And if you're looking for vitamin D in food, of course it's in dairy products added, also egg yolks, fatty fish, liver, and then grass-fed cheese and butter. Then another really important thing for your immune system is social interaction. So there's one study that showed that social isolation was as big of a risk factor for mortality as smoking and high blood pressure. Another tool for your immune system is meditative practice, because chronic stressors are associated with suppression of your immunity. There was a study in which they took experienced meditators to a 6-day meditation retreat, and afterwards they saw that they had shifts in the genetic expression of the genes related to fighting viral infection. Then left is another great way to raise your immunity. There's been a few small studies that show that there's an increase in your secretory IgA levels following exposure to a humorous video. And secretory IgA is the antibody that's found in your mucus and your tears and your saliva, and it traps those invading bacteria and viruses so that they pass through the body before causing infection. And as a podcast on gut health, I would have to mention that regular bowel movements are very important to your health, because 70% of your immune system does reside in your gut. So a balanced, healthy microbiome is going to promote immune homeostasis and help you avoid the hyperreactivity of your immune system that we're seeing in that cytokine storm that's implicated in a lot of the COVID-19 deaths. And scientists also suspect that healthy gut microbiome may prevent the pro-inflammatory immune reactions to the lungs and other vital organs when you're infected by COVID-19. So think about high fiber foods like beans and lentils. You can also add fiber like sun fiber or psyllium husk or some other natural source of fiber to your diet, or look at taking magnesium citrate, because most people are deficient in magnesium anyway. And so magnesium citrate is the form that will help move your bowels, and you can take that at night until you're going once a day easily. And then I wanted to mention a little bit about getting off immunosuppressive drugs, because there are a lot of people who are taking those for autoimmune diseases like rheumatoid arthritis, or lupus, or Hashimoto's. So I work with people to get off their autoimmune drugs, and there's basically 5 steps to doing that, and I'll just briefly go through those. One is detoxification, and making sure that your liver is working efficiently and clearing toxins from your body, and then reducing your toxin load through the use of organic food, cleaning yard, and personal care products, and then also making sure that you eliminate any mold infestations in your home or workplace. And then the second part is identifying any food sensitivities through the autoimmune protocol, which is an elimination diet. And then suppressing or healing any infections, including viral infections, gut infections, which could be bacteria, yeast, or parasites. And then the fourth piece is healing the gut lining, making sure that there's no permeability there. And then finally, fixing any nutrient deficiencies. Okay, so those are the basics of getting into good health and having a strong immune system. So let's get to some of the more advanced for the people who are already in great health and really want to kick it up a notch. So there is a process called autophagy, which is a form of cellular recycling, where the cell basically will metabolize or eat up various components in order to reuse those and build a new, healthier cell. And basically, it's a process that is going to eliminate the senescent or the older cells that are not functioning well, and therefore you have stronger, better cells. And you want more autophagy and less apoptosis, which is programmed cell death, which will be how the other cells are dying, which causes metabolic waste and induces inflammation, and it isn't as efficient in recycling the parts of the cell. So the other benefits of autophagy are eliminating viral infected cells, improving mitochondrial health, so you'll have energy, reducing gut inflammation and leaky gut, reducing the risk of dementia and helping with mental processing, making your skin more resilient and less likely to develop eczema, acne, or signs of aging, and creating a stronger and more stress-resilient body and mind, and stronger muscles. So there's a lot of benefits to autophagy. So how do you get autophagy to happen more? So another fancy word, which is hormesis. And hormesis is basically an adaptive response of your body to low-dose stress. So for example, when you go outside when it's really cold, that's a low-dose stress on your body, and it will induce some amount of autophagy. And those types of stressors are good for your body because they stress it just a little bit and then it comes back healthier. So some of these hormetic stressors are things that people can easily implement into their lives. So one is intermittent or extended fasting. So an extended fast would be like maybe a 4 or 5 day fast, because on days 4 and 5 of a water-only fast, you'll have your peak levels of autophagy. Intermittent fasting could be either eating, say, 500 calories or a quarter of your normal calories twice a week or once a week, or it could be eating on a restricted window, so eating only 8 hours in a day and not eating for 16 hours a day. But at minimum, most people should be not eating for at least 12 hours at night, maybe a couple times a week, at least going for 14 hours without eating. And then there's also fasting mimicking diets, which would be between 800 and 1100 calories for 5 days. And that all induces autophagy. A ketogenic diet is also good for a good hormetic stressor, and that's a diet that is 70% fat, 25% protein, and 5% net carbohydrates, which means if you take any food and you look at the number of carbohydrates and you subtract the amount of fiber, you get the net carbohydrates. So ketosis, and then also drinking black coffee and green tea and eating herbs induce autophagy. So some of the herbs that are particularly good for you include quercetin, which is in red onions and elderberries, carnosic acid, which is in oregano, sage, and rosemary, citrus bergamot, which is in Earl Grey tea, EGCG, which is in green tea and dark chocolate, yay, and ginger and turmeric, and resveratrol, which is in the blueberries, grapes, and red wine, and others. Then another hormetic stressor is drinking apple cider vinegar in water. So you can put 1 to 2 tablespoons in water and drink that before meals. That will also help slow the digestion of starchy foods, and it helps you feel fuller, and it keeps your insulin stable and helps burn fat. Or you could start the day with half a lemon squeezed into water as well, but you might want to use a straw if you do that on a regular basis to protect the enamel in your teeth. And then high-intensity interval training is another good hormetic stressor. So that's where you go really hard for, say, 30 seconds and then rest for 30 seconds, or really hard for 15 seconds and rest for 45. But whatever you can work up to where you feel comfortable and you recover your breath in between. And so you could do 10 minutes of that. If you're not doing any exercise, do 10 minutes of high-intensity intervals, and that's probably just as good for you as doing half an hour of aerobic exercise. And then resistance training or weightlifting or anything that can, that mimics weightlifting, like push-ups or sit-ups, that kind of thing, is another good hormetic stressor. And then temperature extremes, so saunas are great, infrared saunas are even better, and cold water, if you jump in a cold pool or cold burst at the end of your shower. And then adequate protein consumption is important hormetic stressor. So for aging adults, that is 0.4 grams of protein per kilogram of body weight. For sedentary adults, it's 0.8 to 1 gram of protein per kilogram of body weight. If you want to build muscle, it's 1.2 to 2. And if you want to lose weight, it's 1.8 to 2.2 grams of protein per kilogram of body weight. And then finally, I just wanted to talk about some supplements. So the Institute for Functional Medicine, which is the body that trains people who are functional medicine practitioners, which are some MDs, but also a lot of naturopaths and chiropractors and other alternative practitioners, but basically people who want to practice preventative medicine and look for the root cause of problems. So the Institute for Functional Medicine has a list of antiviral and immune supportive supplements, and it talks about dosages, it talks about risk factors, and I've got the link for that in my notes, and I'm happy to share my notes with anyone if you email me. And these are the supplements that they recommend as preventative and also as treatment if you do get COVID-19. So you might want to have some of those things on hand. And then I also really like these 3 supplements that I put on the screen, because this is from Biobotanical Research, and these are all part of their antiviral line, and they have the throat spray, the Biocidin throat spray, which is great for getting rid of a sore throat. And they did a study where if you spray that in your throat, 10 minutes later, your secretory IgA, which is your antibody protecting you, is raised by 66% in 10 minutes. And then they have the Alovirus, which is a very strong antiviral, and the Biocidin LSF, which is a sublingual antiviral herbal product that you want to use these under the help of a practitioner who knows how to use these products, but they are great antiviral supplements. So I wanted to include those. And then also let me just put in a plug for probiotics. There are some strains that have been shown in randomized controlled trials to reduce upper respiratory infections. And those are all my notes. I'm happy to share those. And then finally, I just wanted to say that if anybody is interested in trying to get their gut health in order, or reversing an autoimmune disease, or trying to lose weight without cutting calories, that I'd be happy to set up a free 1-hour breakthrough session. And you can just email me at lindsey@highgesthealthcoaching.com, and I will send you a link to set that up. And with that, I will open it up to questions.
That's a lot of info there. Great team.
Where's your microphone? Your microphone shy. What was that first thing you said?
Lindsey, I have a question for you. You talked about probiotics. What about prebiotics?
Right, so prebiotics are also valuable and often in conjunction with probiotics. Often I suggest that people get their prebiotics from their diet, but if you think that you're not getting sufficient prebiotics from your diet, you might want to start with a product, like there's some new ones now, like GOS and XOS in particular, that are good options. And there's, a lot of the more prominent nutraceutical companies have a prebiotic product, so those are some good options.
And recently, I've read stuff about using cricket flour. Is that really a thing?
That's funny because my husband, who does a podcast on climate change, actually was contacted by the cricket flour people who make some. They make some protein bars and actual cricket snacks, just dried crickets, and he got a bunch of samples. So I think that that's a good protein source if you're trying to avoid eating animals or just want to do something that's better for the planet.
We have another question, just a second.
You gotta come up here.
Come in front of the.
Can we get her face?
Look at the cameras.
Just a quick question on the autoimmune suppression. Is allergy shots considered autoimmune issues with that?
I am not sure. I'm not sure what. I think typically allergy shots are low doses of an allergen to help your body not react to it, but I'm not positive. I'm not.
Okay, I didn't mean to stump the speaker.
That's the things like steroids kind of zone, and even topical. Those are really expensive.
I've got a question regarding grass-fed, grass-finished beef. I bought about a quarter of a cow that a buddy of mine said it was the best beef ever, and it was grass-finished, and it like the way it cooked was a lot faster, and it didn't taste that great. It was pretty gamey, and it was almost like eating venison. Or is that normal, or was that just a bad ranch in Montana? And do you
Yeah, so the reality is that it's definitely a different texture and taste. So it's going to be probably a little bit more gamey taste, and definitely the texture is going to be tougher. So if you're looking at steaks, you probably need to make sure you use a tenderizer and watch the cooking. Or you may just opt to get your ground beef grass-fed when you're going to opt for steak. Just go ahead and get the grain-finished ones that we're used to because the fattier, the meat is fattier and therefore more tender.
Hi Lindsey, well thank you for an informative conversation. I did laugh when you had the words wild and dairy next to each other. It made me think about mad cow disease. What can I say? But it's a serious question really, and that is it ever sort of too late to change in that most of us here are probably not immature?
Over 40.
And I'm just wondering, I mean the benefits are obvious. How long does it take for these benefits to actually take effect? In other words, should we change now at this age in our lives?
I think I heard the question that was basically, is it too late to change, and how long does it take for the benefits to take effect? Is that correct?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay, so it's never too late to change. So, really, you can turn around. In fact, I was talking to my mom's cousin's husband who had just had a kidney transplant for type 2 diabetes and was, in the process of rejecting the kidney and was still eating sugar. And for me, that was just insanity. Like, how could you take somebody's donated kidney and eat sugar when you have type 2 diabetes? So no, it's never too late to change. At any moment, he could turn around and start doing intermittent fasts, and he could reverse his type 2 diabetes. You can very quickly change what's going on in your body, even, short-term fasts and changing your diet absolutely can turn around your health. I mean, of course, there are some things that, if you have an autoimmune disease and part of your body has been destroyed through it, you may not be able to rebuild that, but you can stop future damage. So it's always worth it to start.
Hi, I have a question. You talked about restoring the gut biome and basically healing the cells of the digestive system. And I wasn't paying attention. What did you say about that? How did you do that?
Well, let's see. I probably was just saying that eating are helpful in restoring your gut microbiome if it's not too far gone. And then, just having a varied diet where you're eating all the colors of the rainbow, lots of fruits and vegetables, and then those high fiber foods like the beans and the lentils. And then, if necessary, if you're constipated, adding fiber. Those are some of the basic steps that you can take. Obviously, some people are much further gone than that. Say you have like IBD or IBS, then you probably want to look into more advanced gut testing. And then you probably need to deal with killing off pathogens and then restoring that. And sometimes there's also organ function problems like loss of hydrochloric acid or pancreatic enzymes or, poor bile production resulting in poor digestion of fats. So, restoring your gut can be complex or it can be simple depending on how far gone it is.
Thank you so much. I think all the questions have been answered, and we appreciate your time. Lindsey, we have a tradition in our club in which we donate a book to Make Way for Books, and we have our speakers sign them. So we'll make sure that he gets to sign a copy of the book, Vegetable Alphabet. All right.
Awesome, thank you.
Thank you. And now on to club business. We are lucky enough to have another birthday in the house today. Our Alice is celebrating his birthday. It was actually Saturday, the 29th. Anyways, he has had over a decade of membership since 1976 before rejoining us in June of 1992. He's a graduate of Cornell University in the food industry, so obviously he's a foodie, but among other things he enjoys, obviously, he's a connoisseur of many cuisines, photography, travel, and target shooting. So come on up.
Nice to see you all. I'm the masked man, and so all of you are masked as well. It's terrific to be part of a remarkable organization, both locally and worldwide. I really enjoy this club. I spent over half my life in Rotary. It's been great. I have a check toward another Paul Harris and total applause.
Well, happy birthday. One thing I forgot to mention earlier, last week we have, I was the corporate sponsor, but we are interested in having other members step up and sponsor a meeting, so if you are, please make sure you reach out to Doreen or Karen. And Gary, I know you're going to just turn it back over to me, but how's it going?
It's good. Good to be here. And yes, you are the first on the list for announcements, and the second.
Okay, I know I had mentioned in the first meeting that I would like to share inspirational Rotary moments with everyone and educational moments. So this one is a little video about peace through water education. far enough to get away from my problems, but there's still time. Last month I ran 78 miles, and I want to say thanks to all of you guys who have been sponsoring me and are continuing to. If you guys want to sponsor me, there is still time. You have a whole 10 months. So just go onto our website and see if you can find the form there, or ask Doreen and Carrie, and they can hook you up. And back to you.
And we have Bruce Jacobs coming up to the mic and the camera.
Good afternoon, everybody. Nice to see people again, being able to get out and see eyeball to eyeball as opposed to over a computer screen. So I wanted to take an informal poll. As far as at the end of this month, we're looking to do another Rotary mixer. Ideally, we'll probably look around for an outdoor venue. So it could be a little on the warm side, we don't know. Probably will have absolutely none of the food groups that our speaker talked about today. But can I see by a show of hands how many people think that they might attend a mixer? Okay. Yeah, well, we will find the venue and we will get that notification out soon. Thank you.
All right, we have Joe up next, the car show minute.
Minutes! Minutes!
We got our yellow towels.
Okay, we all set? Ready to go? Hey, look at it. We are doing great. We have not talked about a big number of tickets sold this year. Get this, and I think Cliff's still here, right? Yep, Cliff's still here. Okay, we have sold, let's say last year on September 3rd, we had sold 5,117 tickets. As of Monday, we have sold 8,309 tickets. And that's been certified by the Board of Elections. Okay, so please continue to sell. We have our 50 ticket, $250. That with a beautiful golden towel. It's a beautiful cooling towel. Yeah, let's go ahead. Yeah, golden towel. Whoa. Okay. Okay. So that thank you expires on next week, so September 9th. And then we've got more thank yous in mind. We are going to have a ball. Okay, the Little Anthony's, we're actually back out and about selling tickets at an event. I heard we sold, Bob, was it? Yep, over 91 tickets, right?
All right.
Yeah, let's hear it for Bob. Okay, we also have an opportunity. How many folks have asked either another Rotary Club or another not-for-profit to sell tickets? Look at that. Isn't that great? Fantastic. Drew and see, okay. Isn't it an easy ask? I've got an ask out myself with somebody who's on our district peace committee. And it's, have you guys had a fundraiser? No, we haven't had a fundraiser this year. How would you like to sell tickets? You make 50% commission. It's that easy. Jeannie has memorandums of understanding to be signed at the back table. And then lastly, we've got, if you don't know, we have labels that fit over the cancellation notice or the old information on the car show ticket. So some people wanted these. We made them. I experimented. They fit perfectly. And Jeannie has those in the back table as well. Now, we've got a real treat for you. This is an award winning, I think it was a Peabody Award, and we're going to show it to you right now.
Hey Mark, good morning. What the heck is going on? Hey, I'm here today to figure out how you are so effective in selling Tucson Classics car show tickets online. Could you give our members a couple of hints?
Yeah, well, a couple things. First, I make an appointment with myself. So every day I'm going to send out, I don't know, probably 25, 30, 40, whatever it is, emails. I've got a designed email that I think is really effective that I send to people. And like today, I sent to everybody with the initial and try to figure out who I can visit with and send a little note. I'm not real good about selling individual tickets. So I usually sell, my request is you buy $250 worth of tickets. What I like about it is I don't have to do anything. I send an email, I send them where they need to go. They can get online, they can use their credit card. The tickets will be delivered to them if they want to have somebody write in whose name and just send them the stubs, if they can do that as well. It's just so easy to do it online. And the cool thing about it is I get a report once in a blue moon that kind of tells me how I'm doing. So I kind of look at that. And I set up my $250 one, and if they don't respond, when I get my report, I kind of look at that and try to figure out who didn't respond. And I send them a note and say, okay, would you do 100? And it's kind of fun. Doesn't Jim Rubiani's work for UBS?
Yes, he does.
Well, so this morning I sent out a thing to the C's and D's, and that was Tim Dunn was one of those. And look at this. Now, I don't know why Rubiani's didn't ask this guy, but look. Here's a check from my buddy Tim Dunn, $50 worth of tickets responding to an email.
And when'd you send that email?
I just sent it this morning. I sent it at about 7:48, and he walked in, because you were here, he walked in on 8:30. So less than an hour after we sent it, and he walks, gives me a check. So that's the way I sell tickets. And again, I think what helps me is I just make an appointment with myself, send an email, and then, personalize it. Don't send a mass email. If I send something to Bob, it goes to Bob. If I send it to Tim, it goes to Tim. It's not Tim and a dozen other people. It's a very specific request for Tim. And look what I got from Tim. So that's my deal.
It works. Thanks a lot, Mark. You're a great help to the Tucson Classics Show. So long.
Two quick things. One, Mark had a plan, didn't he? And he worked the plan. And he was successful at it. The second thing he did that I think we need to do, even with some of our high-tech online email and also Facebook, is we need to make sure that not only is it high-tech, but high-touch. We all get excited when we get an email from a friend that's just for us. We need to capture that when we invite people to sell a ticket. So, again, Mark, thanks, and Bob, thanks for allowing us to share that moment. Thanks.
Can I ask a question real quick? What's a Rolodex?
I want to say that is a very old video. And after we got done with that, actually Logan called me to task on that and he said the same thing. It has to have I don't know what a Rolodex is, but I gave my name to it.
I'll look it up in my dictionary.
All right, we have a blue band presentation. You're doing that from up there, John?
Yeah, we'll do it here.
This is good.
Gary, Pleasant Jen. Very excited today to give a blue badge to Wes Wiggins. Wes has done all of the things he needs to do, done all the things with his mentoring list and whatnot. And he's a great guy. If you haven't looked, he's got a high profile. Check it out. All kinds of cool stuff in there. So read it. Two things that you might not know about Wes. One, when we came in with the towels, he was excited because he is a Pittsburgh Steeler fan, and he was thinking the terrible towels. So look at that. The second thing you might not know about Wes is that he's a car guy. And he's one of the few folks here in Tucson that has a new Corvette C8. It is in the parking lot. And so he is a car show guy. Now, if I was listening to Bob Logan, he would say that we're looking... Put it in the auction. Now, I'm not Bob Logan, but it was a good line, so I figured I had to call it out. Wes, we're very excited to have you in the club.
Thank you very much. And look forward to doing more Rotary stuff.
I think that's it for announcements.
Great. Thank you, Gary. Thank you to everybody for coming today. Thanks for those of you who tuned in online. I hope you guys enjoyed the meeting. If anyone would like to donate to our scholarships, we do have a cup at the registration table in back. And thank you in advance for remembering to turn in your name badges at the table as well. Happy birthday, Art. Congrats on the blue badge, Wes. Next week, our speaker is live in person. Right? That's correct, right? Karina? He's
Yes,
here.
as far as I
Okay,
know right
Dr.
now.
Celestino Fernandez with Tucson International Mariachi Conference. And you guys, I do appreciate your patience. I know that things, we would much rather have speakers here live in person, but given the current situation, it's either, we need to work with the people that are willing to present to our club. So as frustrating as coming to a Zoom meeting at the meeting may be, I'm just thankful that people are willing to tune in, given the situation. And on to our toast. Please stand and get your beverage and toys. That would be to your water. I'm sorry, I'm having a rough week for me. That the world provides us through our senses. May we do our best each day not to take this wonderful beauty of our health for granted.
Here.
You guys remember to mask up, and I'm so sorry.
See, it says finish. You tap that.